Chapter 4, textbook lecture. Today we're going to cover selection sets. If we look at the textbook, in this chapter our learning objectives are to know that modify commands and many other commands are required. Be able to select, to create selection sets using different methods. Be able to erase, move and copy objects, and then to understand the noun-verb syntax. So as we look at what the modifier concept is, the modifier is a concept meaning you have to have something already drawn to modify it. And so after you've drawn something with the draw commands, we'll use these modify commands to change them. Okay, and so we'll either change them by moving them, or we'll copy them. There's a number of different things that we can do. When we work with these different methods, we can use the keyboard, we can use the menu bar, or we can use the icons and buttons. And most people will use the menu bar or the toolbar or the icons. And so when we look at keyboard, that would mean typing in the command. As we look at selection sets, they have these two objects drawn right here. And what they're doing is they're going to show how to select one object and then not the other, using either a crossing selection set or using a non-crossing set. So if we were to have something drawn on the screen, and then we were looking at something like a selection set. What a selection set would be when I click the mouse like this and create a window. A green window will select everything it touches, and then I can delete it, versus a blue window will only select what's completely within the window. And so green windows are a little more powerful, a little quicker, and they're created by the direction that you click after you pick the first point. If you go to the left, it's green. If you go to the right, it's blue. And so as we look at these different selection sets, what they're doing is they're creating a couple of circles here. You can right mouse click, repeat that circle command, and then they have a couple of rectangles. If I wanted to move that, let's say I didn't really like where that was, I can use a grip. I can hit the escape key to clear the grips, and then if I wanted to maybe just erase this blue circle in the center, I could say erase. And then if I go with a blue window, all I have to do is select that. If I undo it, if I want to erase it, green window, just have to touch it. It's a little quicker. And so as we work with these selection sets, what they do is they are modify commands, and they allow us to change existing things that are on the screen. And so as we look at things like noun-verb selection, what that means is when you talk about the order of operations, like using the erase command and then selecting an object, that's what they're talking about noun-verb, where you would say erase, and then you would select what to erase, and then you would erase it. And if I undo it, versus if I go backwards, instead of saying like to the store I go, or I go to the store, kind of the same meaning, it would be clicking on the geometry with a grip and then erasing it. And so it's the same thing, it's just a different technique for what they call noun-verb selection. Selection set options, as we looked at these different selection sets, we can select them and then be able to create things like move commands. And so I can say move, I can then make sure I get the command running, I can select what to move, I can create more things. As I select them, it tells you it finds them and it totals them out. And then when you're done selecting them, you hit enter, and then you give it a base point where you're moving it from, and a destination point where you're moving it to. So move commands are three commands. You have to select it, where you're moving it from, and where you're moving it to. So if I wanted to move it, I can say move these, and then I hit enter to say I'm done selecting, where I want to move it from, where I want to move it to. And there's a number of different commands other than just being able to create a rectangular shape. You can create a crossing polygon by typing CP. You can type F for fence. And so if I say erase or if I say move, and then when it asks me to select objects, I can say CP, crossing polygon, and then what it'll do is it will give me a crossing polygon shape. And when I hit enter, then it will select those objects, and then I can then use them to move. Fence is another option, so I could say move, and then I could say F for fence, and then you just kind of spear these things like that, hit enter. When you're done, you select where you want to move it from, where you want to move it to. And so there's other commands too where you can move the last command or move the previous, multiple, single, undo. As we work with the commands, we'll get more experience with those. But just from a basic standpoint, it's just move, select the objects, and I missed the move command, so I'll just do it with reverse noun verb, and then I'll say move. Then it wants to know where I want to move it from and where I want to move it to. You can remove things by holding the shift key. And so if I were going to erase things, I said, I'm going to erase everything. And then I said, no, keep the circles. I hold the shift key and click on the circles, and that will remove them from the selection set. So by holding the shift key, when you click on something with the left button, it will remove it from the selection set. Other commands like the lasso, I'm not a big fan of the lasso. In fact, if you have it on there, you can turn it off by going to options and then selection, and then there's a lassoing button here somewhere. Let's see where it is. And I'm not sure why I'm not seeing it here, but here it is. Allow press and drag for lasso. And mine's off. When the lasso is on, if I apply it and okay it, when I click with the mouse, it gives you a lasso, kind of a organic shape. And then you can erase things. Again, options, selection, and then if you don't care for that, you can turn that off. Alrighty. So those are the lasso settings. Cycling, when you have more than one object, you can select and then it'll give you the option to choose one or the other. This doesn't happen all that much. And then again, more on the noun verb selection syntax. It's just whether you select the object first and then the command, or whether you select the command and then the object. That's the only difference between noun verb selection. And then they give some selection set practices where you can erase different objects using a window. You can select the objects themselves. You can move the objects. Copy the object. So for example, if I wanted to copy this, I could say copy. You'll see the copy command is active. I select the object to copy. I hit enter. Copy base point. Where do you want to move it from? And then where do you want to copy it to? And then you hit escape to bail out of the command. So there's a number of different ways to modify our existing geometries with these different modify commands. And then as we do more work within the CAD system, we'll pick up on other commands and new commands as we work with AutoCAD. Alrighty, that completes the Module 4 chapter lecture.